Okay, this song is about a boat here in Panama City by the name of the Nina. Now, don't get that confused with the Columbus boats. This was a schooner, 50-foot schooner here in Masalina Bayou by the name of Nina. Now, this boat had quite a history behind it. It had been built in 1928, and for the sole purpose of racing from New York to Spain. Now, in that race, it not only won it won it hands down. And the King of Spain actually came out and awarded the crew and the boat medals for the race. It was a pretty big deal at the time. That boat went on to win practically every race it raced in for years until they finally just retired it from racing because the majority of the field just couldn't beat it. Those trophies were all given back to the Racing Society there in Cape Cod. Now, we're nearing World War II, and the boat was taken out of the water and stored in, so to speak, mothballs while the war was raging. After the war was over, we're talking in the 60s, the boat actually was taken back out, refitted, got back in shape for the exclusive purpose to do a sail from Bermuda to Cape Cod. All right. Well, it not only did that race, it won the race and went on to win some other races. So it was racing against more technologically advanced boats at that time. Keep in mind, the Nina was built in 1928. Now, how David and Rosemary Dyke managed to get a hold of the boat, I'm not sure. But they actually purchased the boat and actually got married on the boat, as I understand it. And the boat ended up here in Panama City, and that's when I found it in 2008 when I arrived here. It was in Masalina Bayou, and I was renting a little house down here. Now, I met both of those folks, and they allowed me to take some photographs of the boat because I wanted to paint a painting, which is now hanging over my fireplace. Now, at the time, they were preparing the boat for a 4 or 5 year around the world cruise. And I was actually there in St. Andrews when they shoved off that day, headed up to Cape Cod for some kind of big ceremony that the boat was going to participate in. So it's pretty interesting. Now, the boat ended up in New Zealand, Opwood, New Zealand, headed for Newcastle, Australia. Now, the boat had been laid up for repairs for quite some time there in New Zealand, and they were fixing to cross the Tasman Sea. And unfortunately, the weather window wasn't perfect. They had missed their weather window. And David and Rosemary's son and his girlfriend were on there, and they had to be to Australia so they could catch a flight back to college. Now, the boat shoved off and actually got caught in a storm in the Tasman Sea. And unfortunately disappeared. And no word was ever heard of it again. The last transmission was from a lady that had a satellite phone, and she radioed the weather people that she was communicating with and told them that they were sailing under bare poles trying to get out from the storm, which means they had minimal sails up. And they did have a life raft, they did have EPIRBs, they had everything they needed for that kind of crossing, but nothing was ever found. Now, this happened right around the time the Malaysian flight disappeared. So the family members tapped into some of the research material that they were using for hunting for the Malaysian flight, in hopes that they may be able to find some debris or a life raft or something like that that might help recover the folks on the boat. Unfortunately, that was never found. They never found anything, but the technology they were using to research the Malaysian flight, they definitely tapped into. So it's a sad song. The song is mainly about the Nina herself, not so much the family members, although they go one in one. So I hope you enjoy the song. I'm going to play the song in full on this next clip. So please enjoy.
In 28, round Cape Cod they say, a schooner's launched, she's making way. Nina was her christened name, and history was soon to be made. Oh, 50 feet of waterline, 70 feet from stem to stern. She's far out front of all the rest, and kings would praise her name. Oh, 80-odd years have come and gone, the stories the Nina could tell us all. The seagulls cry in disbelief, their watchful eye upon the reef. Oh, the Nina always returns to port, she's out there making way. Oh, the Nina always returns to port, that's what the loved ones say. September 1, 2008, she set sail to circumnavigate. We bid farewell, fair winds and seas, and watched her sail into eternity. Oh, 7 souls make sail that day, around the world they plot their way, a trusted hand upon the wheel, as Nina dances through the swells. Oh, 80-odd years have come and gone, the stories the Nina could tell us all. The seagulls cry in disbelief, their watchful eye upon the sea. Oh, the Nina always returns to port, she's out there making way. Oh, the Nina always returns to port, that's what the loved ones say. Well, the howling winds, the crashing seas, the Nina makes way southerly. Bare post she sails on through the night, in hopes to make the morning light. Aqua to Newcastle she sails, 1,200 miles of open hell. The Tasman Sea would have her way. Angry ever was she. Now we sit and gaze out at the sea, waiting there impatiently, watching for white sails to be. The searchers say we won't concede. Oh, 80-odd years years have come and gone, the stories the Nina could tell us all. The seagulls cry in disbelief, their watchful eye upon the sea. Oh, the Nina always returns to port, she's out there making way. Oh, the Nina always returns to port, that's what the loved ones say. That's what the loved ones say.